Hello and welcome to English Literature. In this session, in today's talk, we'll discuss Aristotle's Poetics. It's a huge text, and as you may know, Aristotle didn't write it himself, but then it was compiled later by his students from his lectures, from notes taken from his lectures. Anyway, these details we are not going to delve into today. We will talk about certain understanding, certain things related to understanding of tragedy. And the very first thing that I would like to say is that Aristotle's tragedy is a technical term which is different from our day to day use of the term tragedy. If there is any death, we say, oh, it's a great tragedy or it's a tragedy. But according to poetics, no. That is what you should know, you must know. All deaths are not tragic. Yes, arguably all deaths are pathetic, but whatever is pathetic is not tragic. Why so? That we'll explore today. And then, though poetics means art or poetry, basically Aristotle's poetics is mostly about drama, and that too tragedy. All right, so possibly a better name for it would have been dramatics than poetics, but in those days drama was the most dominant form of poetry, that's why. Anyway, so coming to the definition, there are many translations of poetics in English, and there are differences, minor differences in the exact translation. The two most authentic translations are, I must say it this time, though I don't quote such things in my other lectures, but poetics is like our Bible in literature. So in English, the two most authentic translations are one by J.D. Butcher, the other by Ingram Bywater. Of late, there have been more recent and modern translations. I don't like them. I personally prefer Ingram Bywater. Anyway, so, but I will give a combined kind of definition or translation. So he says, tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious and as having magnitude complete in itself, embellished in uh, ornamental, embellished with an ornamental language, you know, incorporating incidents arousing pity and fear, wherewith to accomplish the catharsis of such emotions. I repeat in a truncated form, tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious. So, primarily, what is tragedy? Imitation of an action, not persons. Just refer to my video on tradition and the individual talent, where I spoke about Eliot's criticism of person-centered approach. And there I said we go to watch movies primarily because this one is by Amitabh Bachchan, or that one is by Salman Khan, my favorite, and this and that. Not that, you know. So that is why tragedy is different from biography. A biography on or of Alexander has to be different from a tragedy concerning some incidents on the life. I mean, in the life of Alexander. Rather, a tragedy concerning the life of Alexander has to be different from a biography on the life of or biography of Alexander's life. So, please try to understand that. So, tragedy is the imitation of an action. Now, I'm emphasizing on an. According to Aristotle, tragedy should concern itself with a single important action, not too many actions, as we have in our epics or even their epics. That's why epic is not tragedy. We'll tell later. One action. Suppose murder of Julius Caesar. That can be an ideal topic for tragedy according to Aristotle. It need not be everything in the life of Julius Caesar, from his birth to his affair to his, meeting his first enemy, and everything need not. Only those things which culminate in his murder must be included in the tragedy. Do you get me? So, according to Aristotle, a tragedy is a compact package. Anything unnecessary should not be there. That is what he means by, you know an action, a major action. There may be, you know minor incidents, but this should combine into a whole, so much so that taking any single part away will disrupt the entire tragedy. Going by that example, Shakespeare's plays are not ideal tragedy. Shakespeare followed Aristotle only partially, and that is what marks him different from the university wits who knew Aristotle. Shakespeare knew only by translation or in translation, because he knew small Latin and less Greek, as Ben Jonson said. Though recently there have been some debates on this, but anyway, I go by the general available knowledge. But it is so much better that he did not know Aristotle, than because we have in his place a free flow of ideas. Even Marlowe, in spite of knowing Aristotle, he did not follow Aristotle's prescriptions. Only Ben Jonson, but in comedy, not in tragedy. So, uh, imitation that is serious. So Aristotle is very, very careful, 300 years approximately before Christ, giving a definition like today's scientist. No lacuna left, no lacuna can be there. Tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious, because if it is not serious, it will be comedy. And having magnitude. Now, serious incident also, there must be a magnitude, some kind of a length. Actually, the entire tragedy of entire poetics, after his definition of tragedy, is an elaboration and commentary on his definition. I'm giving here the essence. Certain length should be. It should not be too huge, or should not be too small. A too small incident, a too short incident rather, too short kind of narration can also be a tragedy. Suddenly there is a bomb blast, people, 40,000 people die. So it's a tragedy by our definitions, but it can be covered within 20 minutes, the report and all. That is not, it must have some magnitude. Again, not too huge, like our serials, Chandrakanta and all. It never ends. So neither too huge nor too short. Having magnitude complete in itself, that is important. For Aristotle, a tragedy must be understandable from within itself. You need not refer to any other text or narrative or epic to understand the tragedy which is not there in the tragedy. Then the tragedy is not a perfect art. Do you get me? See, Noah is a character in the Bible. So if there is a play on Noah's life, it must be understandable from the play itself. Whatever we have to understand, that must be available from the play itself. We need not go to Bible to understand a comedy or tragedy on Noah. I mean, these things that Aristotle says about tragedy are also applicable for comedy. So that is what he means by complete in itself. To understand a tragedy on Alexander's life, Alexander was his own student, Aristotle's. We need not go back to Alexander's biography. That is what he means by completeness, complete in itself. Now there is one side business that I will not discuss, that is embellished. That is, tragedy should not be written in ordinary language. There should be figure of speech, figure of thought, all these things. That is, there is not much there to understand as such, so I'll keep it aside. So it must be figurative and ornate language that is there. Anyway, so incorporating incidents arousing pity and fear, he says. In tragedy, there should be incidents which arouses our pity. Pity means sympathy. Oh, this poor thing is suffering. And fear. Oh my God. If such a thing happens to him, it may happen to me. So, that kind of thing. Wherewith to accomplish the catharsis of such emotions. Now, catharsis is a very important term. In fact, since I'm doing short videos for network problem, I must do another one to explain it. There are many explanations of catharsis, but here I'll talk about the most general meaning. It is a balancing. Catharsis is a balance of our latent psychological emotions like pity, fear, can say anxiety. All these are pent up often in our mind or in our subconscious spread, would say unconscious rather. Today it is all the more there, all these things, than Aristotle's time. So when you see a tragedy or watch a movie, a tragic movie, you know, our internal emotions, negative emotions mostly, gets balanced. This is a very general type of interpretation I am giving. My scholarly friends will be angry, but I know, I'm aware there, but this is for beginners. I'll come to complications in another video. Anyway, so, and people also say Aristotle's addition of catharsis to tragedy is his answer to his master Plato. Please watch my talk on Plato, who said that literature is a useless thing, or rather poetry. It leads one away from truth. It is unhealthy for nation, for young minds. But Aristotle showed, without quoting Plato, but insinuation by reference, that in fact it is very healthy, one of the most healthiest. You may have experienced it yourself if you are conscious. If you watch a good movie, a tragedy, there is some kind of an elevation from your day-to-day life. Even comedy makes you laugh, but that effect doesn't remain longer. But tragedy, good movies, it need not be exactly tragic ones, but then good movies, they have lasting impressions and leads you to think, leads you to some kind of a balance. That is what you meant. So, incorporating incidents arousing pity and fear wherewith to accomplish the catharsis of such emotions. And yes, in between there was another thing I left out, that tragedy should be in the manner of drama, or say dialogue, not narration, which is the business of epic. That is, tragedies should be written as exchange of dialogues between characters, and then these things are to be acted out. Aristotle's poetic, you must remember, is a post-paid system, I should call it, not prepaid. That is, he did not write poetic first and then all people started writing them. It is the other way around. He observed those plays that were in circulation during his time in Greece, and from that he made this general formula. In fact, many people say that poetics was originally descriptive, not prescriptive. Descriptive is one which one which describes things. That, in a tragedy, such and such things are there. But when this was translated into English, and the English translated it from originally from the Roman texts, not the Greek ones. So Romans were basically prescriptive. So when they took Aristotle from Greece to Rome, the text, whatever was descriptive, they made prescriptive. And then, since English classicism is a Roman classicism, not Greek classicism, so when the English translated it, it also remained prescriptive. That if you have to write a tragedy, these things are to be there. This appears from the poetics that we read, but originally it was a description, not prescription. But anyway, this is a bit debatable, and I cannot have a final say on this, because unfortunately I do not know the Greek. Greek is Greek to me. Greek to me is a phrase in English. When something is totally unintelligible to you, you say that it is Greek to you. Say Gikyu is Greek to me as a language. So Greek itself is also Greek to me. So even English people say that they don't understand Greek in general. Like most of us do not know Sanskrit like that. Anyway, But then there is some merit in this. At least you should remember the post-paid thing, as I said. And the tragedy that influenced Aristotle most was Sophocles' Oedipus Rex. In fact, the exemplary play that suits most of the descriptions or prescriptions, as you like it, in poetics is Oedipus Rex. So it is better to have an idea of at least the plot of Oedipus Rex. Then Aristotle, after this definition, I again go back. Tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious and as having magnitude, complete in itself, embellished uh, with ornate languages, presented in the manner dramatic, not narrative, comma, incorporating incidents, arousing pity and fear, ways to accomplish the catharsis of such emotions. This is the complete thing. Mostly when we define in day-to-day life, we take only the first few words. Tragedy is the imitation of an action that is serious. So at least if this part you remember, you can write a lot. Then he says there are 6 elements of tragedy or play engine, that is plot, character, diction, thought, spectacle, and melody. So 6: plot, character, thought, diction, spectacle, and melody. 6 parts. As we have a Sharanga of the Vedas. Shiksha, Nirukta, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Chanda, Jyotish. These 6 are 6 angas or limbs of the Veda, Sharanga we call them. So Aristotle's poetics also has Sharanga, Shatanga, Sharanga, 6 limbs. Of this he says plot is the most important. Plot, he says, as it were, the soul of tragedy. Characters come only second. Now it has confused critics for centuries. How can there be plot without character? Can there be a plot without characters? No, no. I mean, it can, but it is for emphasis. There are different kinds of interpretations given, but basically my interpretation is that it is for the emphasis of it. As I said earlier, it should not be character centered as in a biography or as in the movies, but plot is the main thing. Even if you make a very good thing about a day or two of, say, Alexander's life, where there is no serious action, but Alexander remains as a central figure, that will not be a good tragedy or tragedy at all, according to Aristotle. So there must be some plot. Now, what is plot? What is the difference between a plot and a story? All these things I will deal with in another video. Today I have covered the broad definition because I felt that I should address this. This is our most basic text of literary criticism or poetics, and we must be familiar with it as best as we can. So, plot is the soul of the tragedy, means without a storyline there is no tragedy. Take the example of this very popular serial, both in America and Indian imitation, Big Boss. There are lots of characters are there, there is no plot. So finally it doesn't give any aesthetic satisfaction, at least to me it doesn't give. Aristotle would have said the same thing. So you being a plethora of characters, Aristotle, Napoleon, Socrates, everyone, in a write-up all are present, but there is no combination of incidents leading to a serious action, which is what we call plot, and it will not be successful. It may be successful because popular imagination are often not Aristotelian, or even today, most of us, we do not have the sophistication of a Greek audience or even our ancient Indian audience. Today things are really popular or populist. But since I'm talking to a kind of literary audience, if I may say so, so you will easily be able to relate to it, that without a good plot, story, film, even today, will not be successful, no matter how many colorful characters or prominent characters you have there. What puts character together is plot. So that is why it says plot is the soul of the tragedy. Character comes only second, as if it were the body. So thank you so much. Wish you happy learning. Let's learn together and grow. Let knowledge be free from all obstacles, and that is actually my motto. Keep sharing these things, make your own videos and own lectures. It will not only help many people in pandemic, but also create knowledge resources, as our nation also these days is in favor of soil, MOOC. Those things are good, very good, but they should not replace direct teaching. But then now they are the best possible solution due to the pandemic. That is why I have made my things public. Some kind of resource, some support is to be there. So thank you.